Joining me now is Oklahoma Congressman Frank Lucas. Congressman, good to see you. Thanks very much for being here. Your reaction to this issue being the number one in New Hampshire?
I can't say that I'm surprised in the least. I'm from Oklahoma. Of course, we're not that far from the Rio Grande, so we've been dealing with the southern border issues for a long time, and especially the difficult set of circumstances since the Biden administration essentially, with their policies, opened it up. So I'm not surprised my friends on the north side are having the same concerns.
Well, you've got a meeting happening today at the White House. President Biden inviting top congressional leaders there to discuss spending for that supplemental package. The Republicans said they were going to dig in and not agree to any additional spending unless you actually had a change in border security. Are you expecting that?
I expect my colleagues to take that position. I think it's the right position. After all, it was one of the first big pieces of legislation we passed in the House was H.R. 2 to try and get a grip on the border situation. The Senate's ignored it. The president's ignored it. But then he created this situation by the changes, catch and release, no more border wall, no more remain in Mexico. How could he expect any other problem but what we have?
Yeah, but I'm just wondering if, in fact, anything would be done about it. But let me move on to China, because your bill, the Protect Taiwan Act, passed the House last week. Tell us how the bill will deter China from attacking Taiwan.
Maria, it tees off the Taiwan Relations Act, which says if the president determines that China is an imminent danger to Taiwan, he has to report to Congress immediately. My act then would direct the U.S. representatives on all international agencies of consequence, essentially to remove the Chinese from participating in those programs. Think about G20, the Financial Stabilization Board, the Basel Committee on Banking Supervision. The goal to be proactive, to say if you take these actions to destroy a vibrant democracy, you're going to pay a price. You cannot continue to have it both ways. Be a threat to your neighbors and yet use the international financial system.
Are you expecting activity with regard to China going into Taiwan this year?
I would hope that the leadership in China has more sense, more practical sense than to do this, that it's a matter of saber rattling. But they became even more infuriated with the vice president being elected president of Taiwan, a very strong pro-democracy guy. I just don't know what to expect out of the old men who run China these days.
Well, Beijing is blasting the Philippines president this morning for congratulating the winner of Taiwan's presidential election. China also sent warship towards Taiwan after Vice President Lai, big win. Wisconsin Congressman and the chairman of the China Select Committee, Mike Gallagher, joined me on Sunday Morning Futures with his reaction to the Taiwanese election. Watch this.
Well, it's a victory not only for Lai Ching-te and the Democratic Progressive Party, but really for democracy. I mean, Taiwan is one of the world's most vibrant democracies. Its success and the success of its elections really demolished the Chinese Communist Party's claim to speak for all people of Chinese heritage. It's also clear to me that the CCP's attempt to bully Taiwan, whether it's through spy balloons, sanctions, military incursions, backfired.
Meanwhile, President Biden had this to say about that Taiwanese election. Watch. We do not support independence for Taiwan, Congressman. Your reaction?
90% of the advanced semiconductor chips come from Taiwan. It is a vibrant, functioning democracy. They are our allies in every way. I cannot explain President Biden's logic on a lot of things.
So it's a good point that you make. So 90% of advanced semiconductors are produced in Taiwan. That means the semiconductors used for the military, semiconductors used for advanced technology throughout the world, produced in Taiwan. What does it mean if China is in charge of Taiwan, given that 90% outsized market share for advanced semiconductor chips?
I think there's several angles here. The Chinese are very aggressively trying to develop their own semiconductor industry, and wiping out their competition would be a golden opportunity for them. By the same token, if they get in a shooting match, disrupting and potentially destroying manufacturing semiconductors in Taiwan hurts, yes, our military, our industries, but the rest of the world too. It's such an important part of what drives our economy. That's why we have to, with my act, be proactive, say to the Chinese, you can't do this. You will pay a consequence for it. Not as we did in other places where we waited until after the invasion came.
Well, let's be clear, nothing in that regard is being done.
Well, my act is an effort to start the process from a variety of angles to get the Chinese attention. And it passed on the suspension calendar.
Congressman, I want to switch gears, ask you about financial services. We're about to speak with the chairman and CEO of Bank of America. We've already spoken with other executives, and they're not happy about these Basel III proposals, which are basically putting U.S. banks against foreign banks in terms of they're putting them at a disadvantage, forcing U.S. banks to hold more capital. You're on financial services, and I want to get your take on these proposals and what you can do as an elected official to actually create an environment for growth for the U.S. banking industry.
Maria, we on the Republicans on the Financial Services Committee have been alarmed by this for some time, and we pushed back on hearings. We pushed the various officials at the Fed, at Treasury. We pushed the Biden folks to take a different course. But this is, again, one of those situations where elections have consequences. We have another year of this administration and their appointees. I hope we can survive the process.
What do you mean?
If we go down this course, wide open borders, if we allow things like Basel to put our businesses at a disadvantage, if we let groups like China bully our trading partners out of existence, where do we wind up? I don't want to go there, and I'm not sure the administration knows that.
Thank you so much, sir. Congressman Frank Lucas in D.C. this morning. We'll be watching your work, sir.